Greetings petrolheads, welcome back to Automation, the car company tycoon game. Today, or rather this week, I think I want to give you a little bit of an overview of the 2016 of my quote-unquote main virtual company called AMW, and starting with perhaps the car that started the whole idea of, you know, what I want, what my own cars would be like, and that is the Mantis. Basically, this is a mid-sized hatchback, similar in size to the Golf. However, you will see many key differences to a Golf in this little overview of this car model. So first of all, underneath we have an aluminium chassis with well, what used to be plastic panels, but they got taken out of the game. So I am using fiberglass instead. Keep in mind that plastic would have lower production units than fiberglass, and it would also not require limited production. So that is what it would actually have. And then double wishbone suspension front, multi-link rear to make sure that this car is nice and nimble and sporty, and also rides well. Aesthetically, I think it's pretty much up to modern standards. It's also wearing its signature color, the Mantis green, basically a lime green, very like bright color. And yeah, there are several different trims available, and all of which, again, very much unlike a Golf, are rear-wheel drive. So the smallest, the least powerful version you can get is this right here, the 90 horsepower version, or rather 91.7 horsepower version, whatever. It will be officially rated at 90, of course, and that is because in Austria, with the insurance system, and any car that has up to and including 90 horsepower will you will pay a lot less insurance than for cars with more than 90 horsepower. That is why cars with exactly 90 horsepower, manufacturers claim, are very popular here. And yeah, this would be one such car. This is a 1.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. This is a part of a very big engine family. We have quite a lot of engines available for this engine block, and actually two of them are also a lot more than two of them. Two with 1.4 liters of displacement is what I was thinking of, are available for this car. Yeah, so basically 91.7 horsepower, 107 pound-feet of torque. Obviously not gonna blow the doors off, but it's the very basic model. As standard, you get a 6-speed manual gearbox, although you could also have an automatic. It comes with a viscous limited slip diff. It comes with medium compound road tires, 185s front or 205s rear, because it is rear-wheel drive, and you know, we want that safety, that stability. It is very drivable. That's the key thing here for this very basic model, is so that it should be as easy to drive as possible, and you know, also economical, cheap to insure and everything. But also, again, I think I've said this before, AMWs are about being lighter and more aerodynamic than their competition. Although it does seem a little bit overboard going with plus extra quality into the aerodynamics section here, it does get a fully clad undertray though, to help with aerodynamics and therefore fuel economy. With four seats, standard interior and standard infotainment, that's pretty much also what you would get in a Golf, because, like, honestly, if you're gonna argue that a Golf already has premium interior, then, you know, what about a BMW 5 Series? And if you're gonna argue that the BMW 5 Series has a luxury interior, what about the 7 Series? Because it's not handmade. So in that regard, standard is pretty much what you would expect in a Golf, and you find similar equipment here. And it gets all driver assists except for launch control, because honestly 90 horsepower with launch control, don't think you really need that. Advanced safety, and then standard springs, semi-active dampers, active sway bars. Wait, what do we do with bottoming out? Not anymore. Okay. Apparently it changed it in itself before loading it up again, but that's okay. We fixed it. So overall, this car weighs 1265 kilograms, which is lighter than a Golf. It uses more fuel than a Golf, but that's again because of the game's calculations with like how... We've seen this multiple times in the past, haven't we? That cars in the game are using, you know, more fuel than they would, or than a comparable car in real life would use. Obviously, we have no means of actually building these cars in real life to find out how much they would really use, but you know, with 90 horsepower from a 1.4 liter turbo in a small light hatchback, I think in today's age you could achieve lower fuel economy than this. You really could. 12.1 seconds 0 to 100 is obviously not fast, but again, it's the base model. And as far as base models with 90 horsepower goes, 26.7 sportiness is actually pretty good. So that shows that this car is set up very nicely with the suspension components and all that. It'll take corners very swiftly, and haha, Suzuki Swift. Yeah, it will certainly be a great city car. And you know, people who were in the past always shying away from river drive cars, because like, well, what? Oh, it's river drive. It's you can't drive it in the rain or in the winter, or you know, you can, because like that's what the driver assists are there for. In any case, that is the basic model. So from there you get the 1.4 liter Eco, which has the same engine block, as also 1.4 liters of capacity, but 110 horsepower, 129 pound-feet of torque. Still a 6-speed gearbox, limited slip diff. Tires are the same. Basically everything is still the same here. This does not bottom out for whatever reason. Yeah, and this will do 0 to 100 in 10 seconds, 10.1 seconds. So the extra 20 horsepower will actually make a noticeable difference in acceleration time. 2 seconds faster with 0 to 100. That is a difference that you can really notice as a driver. Although, to be fair, 10 seconds is still not really fast. But 110 horsepower is still not a lot of power either. Again, 28.8 sportiness, pretty damn good. 36.5 comfort is definitely up there as far as what you can reasonably expect from a car of this price class. Haven't really been able to... oh, actually, I have been able to set up all this. Okay, we should add different markups for different models. So let's go back to 90 for a second. Okay, now this will... I think given the expected volume of cars that we're probably gonna sell from this, I think a plus 5% markup is already like pretty much up there, because this should really be selling like hot cakes, because it is affordable, it is economical, it's sporty, it looks, you know, definitely, it has a distinctive look. It looks certainly different from all the other cars in this category, and the base model typically always sells pretty well. And so with the 1.4 Eco, we are gonna go with a plus 10% markup, bringing this one up to $20,412, which is pretty affordable. And from that point onwards, you get the 1.6 liter Eco, still based on the same engine block, but obviously now with 1.6 liters of capacity, 125 horsepower, 145 pound-feet of torque, revving up to 6,200 RPM, making for a still pretty good economy. And yeah, everything else was pretty much still the same as with the 1.4 liter models, because there really isn't that much more power to really warrant any major changes. And 30.4 sportiness, 36 comfort, 9.1 seconds 0 to 100, so we're getting into the sub 10 second range with this. Also, let's give this a... yeah, or could we go with, yeah, plus 15% markup, sure. So this would cost not even $1,000 more than the 1.4 liter Eco. Although you do get more. Like how... when you're thinking of like when you're thinking of manufacturers who offer different engines for the same car, how many manufacturers can you name that offer and that only have a $1,000 price gap between the different available engines? I don't think there's that many. But moving on, we have a 1.8 liter Eco engine. Kind of weird dip in torque, in the torque curve there, but that's okay. 150 horsepower, 166 pound-feet of torque. Still using less than 6 liters per 100 kilometers, so that's actually pretty solid for this engine. Or actually, well, actually it kind of isn't compared to real life cars, but then again, we all know that the game doesn't simulate fuel economy properly. 8.1 seconds 0 to 100. So that is actually pretty much where some people may be starting to talk about hard hatchback levels of acceleration. I personally don't, but I think that, you know, the Ford, what is that Ford Focus diesel with the 184 horsepower called? What do they call that? ST diesel or what? You know which one I mean. In essence, people are calling that a hot hatchback because it's a diesel that does 0 to 100 in 8.7 seconds. Really? That's what we call a hot hatchback these days? 8.7 seconds? I mean, that's by no means hot. Really. Even a Golf GTI does 0 to 100 in like 6.7 or 6.5 or something. Okay, and we have a 1.8 liter Fun. You know, Fun does get revised suspension, or slightly revised suspension. It gets wider tires. It gets an engine tune that is more for like a little bit sportier and a little bit less eco-focused than Eco, but not like all-out performance, or not like super aggressive or anything. So Fun is basically the middle ground between the Eco and the Sport model. You know, sportier than Eco, but still reasonably economical, so that you don't, so that you can still afford running it. This will do 0 to 100 in 6.9 seconds, so that is actually like sub 7 seconds, which is where you could start talking about hot hatchbacks. I think sub 7 seconds could be one of the criteria. And yeah, I think I totally forgot sending the prices for more models. Do you see that this is 18,914, whereas with the 1.6 there was like 18,500 or so before we added markup. So these cars really are quite similar in price, or in build cost anyway. So the further we go along, the more horsepower a model makes, the more profit we can make off of it, and that's great. Yeah, that's like $200 more than so we're gonna add 20% markup here on the 1.8 Eco, 25% on the 1.8 Fun, I think, and then we're gonna get into the good stuff, because the next up is the 1.8 liter Sport. Okay, there we go. Then the 1.8 liter Sport still oh, excuse me, just hit my microphone. It still has a 1.8 liter engine, of course, but it now makes 225 horsepower. It makes 185 pound-feet of torque and a really nice torque curve. And it revs out to 7,500 RPM. So this really is more of a sporty engine. Still doesn't use a massive amount of fuel. And this is pretty much like what would line up against a Golf GTI in the real world. 6.3 seconds 0 to 100. It would reach 250 kilometers an hour. It gets very sporty suspension. It gets wider tires, 16-inch rims. It gets bigger brakes. You know, just overall a much sportier car than all the models we've looked at so far. And 14.8 second quarter mile time is actually nothing to be ashamed about. Like for a hot hatchback, this is pretty much where you can really start lining this up against some like budget sports cars, or you know, low-end sports cars like a Supra BRZ and stuff like that. This really can hold a candle to those cars, and not only in a straight line, because look at that sportiness. 49.7 is actually really good value for the money if we're talking about like just over $25,000. I'm just saying. But any AMW model range wouldn't be complete without an HP model, and HP stands for high performance. So this one actually gets a bonnet hump. It gets some extra vents on the bonnet. It gets this little black stripe. It gets a different rear bumper, the HP tag, quad exhausts. Yeah, and there's a lot of other differences as well. First of all, there's a 2.5 liter twin turbo V6 under the bonnet, which you may have seen in the Fiat Cinquecento build that we did last week. It is exactly that engine. This gets a 7-speed double clutch gearbox, although you can also have a 6-speed manual. It gets an electric diff. It gets two 7.5s on the rear, two 55s up front. It gets 18-inch magnesium rims, sports tires, carbon ceramics front and rear, and some quality in the aerodynamic section. Apart from that, yeah, sure, of course, suspension is also revised compared to the 1.8 Sport. And with all that, we get a hot hatchback that'll do 0 to 100 in 4.5 seconds, and it'll top out at over 300 kilometers an hour. There's the first hot hatchback to be topping out at over 300 kilometers an hour, if it were actually to exist. Oh yeah. That's what a hot hatchback should sound like. 12.6 seconds quarter mile, that is actually really, really quick. That is certainly faster than an A45 AMG and a BMW M235i and Golf R especially. So yeah, this would be the hottest hatchback out there, and it would cost... No, it would cost more than that. I think we could reasonably leave it here at 42,288, or let's make that $42,500. Now for that you get a twin turbo V6 with 400 horsepower and rear-wheel drive and a top speed of over 300 kilometers an hour. So that is actually pretty damn good value if you ask me. And economy, obviously not very good. But to be fair, the manufacturer's claims for like the BMW M135i and the A45 AMG, they are significantly lower than this. But in practice, if you're actually driving them in their power band, like if you're actually driving them in a sporty manner, they will get pretty close to this as well. So there is that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Automation. Leave a like or a comment if you did. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.